part of the fun. It's also part of what leaves me up at night going, what the fuck did that mean? So please tell me as much as you know about this track and these very interesting lyrics.
Yeah, you got no chance on a first listen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hey, everybody out there, welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. It's Andy and it's John, and it's time to dig into some music. Hello from us both. So John is going to be offering up a track, an artist for me to go off and listen to. We're going to come back and chop it up for a bit. He's going to school me on it. But in order to get the ball rolling, John, tell me what I'm working with today, my friend.
We're back to the PJ Harvey well, um,
One of my
our,
favorite ones.
se our seventh iteration. So this is a track from the following album from the last one, as it were. We're doing a
Yeah.
track from each album in chronological order. Um, and this is a track called The Piano.
The piano. All right, that's pretty cut and dry. Um, okay, well. Speaking of wells, this is, as you mentioned, this is a well that we've gone to, I think, 7 times. So I've always enjoyed each trip to it, all to varying degrees, but they've all been quite positive experiences. Let me go off, give the piano a listen. I'll come back and let you know what I think.
Hit her with a hammer,
Jesus.
teeth smashed in, red tongues twitching, look inside a skeleton.
This is all very, like, suppressed sounding. Ooh.
My fingers sting where I feel your fingers have been ghostly fingers moving my limbs. Oh God, I miss you. 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 Oh God, I miss you.
Well, that's really pretty, that little motif.
Daddy's in the corner, rattling his keys. Mommy's in the doorway, trying to leave. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening.
Damn.
Oh God, I miss you. 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 Oh God, I miss you.
Damn. That's really interesting stuff. I mean, an incredibly short song, but there's this eerie mystery to all of it. The sound of the music and the kind of her opaque lyrics. Like there's descriptions of visuals, with um, the father rattling the key and the mother in the corner or whatever, and the opening salvo with the hammer to the teeth and the bloody tongue. It's there's not a lot of why or reason. It's just visuals, and there's not a lot to solidify any explanation as to how things got to where they are in this song from a lyrical standpoint. And it's the lyrics themselves, with or without context, are pretty dark. And the music adds to this mood, this kind of like I said, this eerie feeling you get throughout just this 2.5 minutes. Interesting stuff. Her voice is really pretty. I loved how they used multiple vocal tracks where they're separated. Her voice is separated by several octaves in each one of those tracks. And this sort of haunting ooze that you have going on in there. And she said something about a ghost. And I'm looking at this visage of her, and it almost looks ghostly. Yeah, evocative song, both lyrically and musically. Yeah, I've way more questions than any definitive answers or interpretations to this short little number, but it did its job in making me think, and even providing these odd, almost uncomfortable feelings while listening to it. She has a penchant for this. Let's get back to John and learn a bit more about this track. I did enjoy it, but I'm already looking forward to some information and then applying that to future listens to get a better grasp of where I stand. But I do know that I like that it made me feel things, and it it just provided this kind of dark feeling that I hope clears a little bit with my discussion with John. So let's get back to him.
It's the Milky Bar Kid. He's back from listening to The Piano by Polly Jane. What do you think of this one?
Eerie, quick little number, the song. Which is really the quickness, maybe the brevity of the song might be a bit of a surprise, but the overall aesthetic, not so much. PJ has a way of like setting an uneasy, unsettling mood in her music, whether she's brash in doing that, like we've heard before, or whether it's more subtle, subdued, and as I describe it pretty early on, suppressed in a weird way. So let me go over these notes. The song begins in a very suppressed manner. From Harvey's like subdued voice to the quiet but rapid tapping of the drums or metronome, because it's really just it's almost like a timekeeper. And there's these placid, what sound like strums on some strings. A guitar comes to mind. And then everything has this air of being stifled or restrained. Um, and the lyrics wash over me. I'm beginning to understand why that might be. But they're brutal and paint a picture of a woman having been beaten with a hammer, which is a fucking hell of an opening salvo. You get started, it's like, holy shit, dude, you're hitting me with this right out of the gate. It's much like being hit with a hammer. So yeah, with her teeth knocked out and her bloody tongue twitching and looking like a skeleton, all really morbid for a first verse out of the gate. She then vocalizes these oohs, and there's this flourish on what sounds like a harpsichord that comes shining through. Um, Again, even that ooze has this ghostly kind of sound to it. It's like a dark, ethereal sound. And the second verse begins. This time there's more key work, it sounds like, on the harpsichord. And her lyrics are less violent in this verse, but no less evocative. She sings of her fingers stinging where she feels the other's fingers have been. She calls them and she uses the term ghostly, which is pretty apropos given the whole feel of the song. And she sings about moving my limbs, I think I caught. From here, the song shifts into another chorus. It repeats the refrain of like this, "Oh God, I miss you," um, which also speaks to the absence or departure of somebody, which again leads you to think of death, ghosts, so on. The drums, while subtle, take on an interesting sound during this portion as they evolve into this half processional, half light jazz type sound to them. And then there's this smoke clearing moment after the chorus where the drums proper like cut out, leaving only the sound of that metronomic tapping and some really beautiful, what I assume is more harpsichord. The instrumentation on this is kind of interesting on this track. I don't know if this is a motif for the album, but it definitely has like I don't know, it's less rock and rolly, if you will, and then less experimental rock and rolly, which is kind of what you got on that song with her and York. So there is this evolution of changing sounds throughout as you've taken me on this journey chronologically. Um, but just in these few seconds before the next verse being um, begins, the song so smooth as it briefly goes back to vocalizing more of these oohs over top of that sort of harpsichordy bit. The next verse kicks off and it's more interesting and unnerving lyrics. This time we have Daddy in the corner rattling his keys and Mommy in the doorway trying to leave, which is odd. You could go a million places with that. And while I didn't reach that threshold, I had several thoughts about what that could mean or what could be happening in that moment. She then repeats through multiple vocal tracks and octaves of separation. Nobody is listening, and then this refrain turns back into the "Oh God, I miss you" as the song winds to an end, and with lyrics that began vividly morbid. And then they sort of devolve into this mysteriously opaque kind of nature. And the music at times felt eerily restrained. The song was dark and unsettling and really moody. So, of course, I enjoyed it. I need to know more about the story because there, there isn't a lot of reason there isn't any reason to any of this, which sometimes you get in a narrative, whether it's set to music or in literature or whatever. This is just sort of what it is, and then you have to extrapolate or connect dots or fill in huge swaths of blank to kind of come to any sort of conclusion, which I don't think, I mean, that's fun to do, but you're certainly not going to do that with any confidence or certainty that you've picked up on what she's trying to convey. It's part of the fun. It's also part of what leaves me up at night going, what the fuck did that mean? So please tell me as much as you know about this track and these very interesting lyrics.
Yeah, you got no chance on it first listen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll get into it in a sec. Just my sort of take on the song itself. I think this is just beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's starting in terms of its sound when you compare to just a couple of albums back. There is an evolution in her sound and the growth, and this is bringing in stuff which will come in later down the line. There's a kind of a alt folksy sort of ring to this as well throughout the album. But she took a big step in doing stuff in it, so I'll get into it.
Okay.
White Chalk is the seventh studio album by PJ Harvey, and it's released in September 2007. For this record, Rolling Stone magazine noted that Harvey, quotes, delved further into a goth-like vibe in the much quieter, haunting piano-based music. PJ actually gave up the traditional, three-piece sound of guitar, bass, drums, and she actually went off and did her demos like she always does on a piano, which she'd never done before. Despite her lack of expertise on the instrument. In an interview in The Wire, she explained the great thing about learning a new instrument from scratch is that it liberates your imagination. So she learned to play piano from scratch to then record this album, which is, and you kind of, she didn't sound, it sounds decent to my ears. I don't think she's a virtuoso, but it's a brave thing to do. And it makes me think, I don't know if you remember this, but in the Get Back documentary, in the 8.5 hours or whatever it was, there's a lovely bit, I think it's in the third part, where George Harrison is in the Abbey Road studios at this point, and he's banging on a piano. I think it's for Old Brown Shoe or something like that. And he goes, "This is so liberating. You've got so many different combinations of keys compared to a guitar." And to hear someone who's so good on the guitar, like George Harrison, being like a kid in a candy shop with a piano, just struck me as really fascinating.
Yeah.
And she's kind of obviously getting the same sort of vibe out of that. And it must make you compose in a different way on a piano to a guitar, obviously.
Yes.
The way chords jump as well. You can't do it as you can on the piano.
Yeah. It's funny you're describing how she attacked the writing on this album because of these circumstances where she's gone to piano as her like sort of tool for writing. And that's a lot of like a lot of people gripe about the change, and I know this is going to be classic Andy bringing these guys up again, but the change in the Arctic Monkey sound after that AM album. And it's because Turner did the same thing. He like put down the guitar as his mechanism for writing and started tinkering around and teaching himself piano or becoming more expert in piano and using that to write, which then completely changed the sound of what they were doing before then. So it's obviously this thing that's happened, as you mentioned, Harrison, and now we've got Harvey, and I've mentioned her. So I think this has happened with artists a lot who begin on guitar and then kind of, which is interesting, and it kind of gives you a glimpse into the evolution of how their songwriting can be. So yeah, that's really cool.
And both Lennon and McCartney had done that prior to Harrison as well. Which again is just really interesting. Ringo was happy on the drums. Anyway, so personnel and instruments for this album, White Chalk there. PJ Harvey, vocals, piano, acoustic guitar, bass, keyboards. It says zither here. I believe it's actually an auto harp, which is part of the zither family.
Okay.
Harmonica, harp proper, and sig fiddle, which is I think just another name for a cigar box guitar. John Parrish, drums, bass guitar, acoustic guitar, banjo, percussion, backing vocals. Eric Drew Feldman, piano, keyboards. Optigam, Mellotron, Mini Moog, backing vocals, and Jim Wright, drums and percussion. So another thing here, vocally, and you referenced it here, she sings in a much higher register than normal, or a pitch outside of normal range. And that's just for a standard. And then she goes into this Kate Bush sort of soprano, particularly on the sort of refrain of this song. She does it other places in the album as well. It's really interesting. And it's a completely different sound to what, the sort of, Rid of Me or whatever,
Yeah, but it's also for this song, and I know that like this happens to me a lot, and probably you too when we're doing this, but like the visage of the thumbnail used for the video can sometimes seep into your consciousness, but she has this like ghost caught in an old photo aesthetic to her, and this voice has this ghostly sound to it, and she uses the word ghostly in her lyrics. So all of this is swirling together to create this cocktail of like supernatural shit that I was thinking as I was listening to this.
Yeah. She yeah, you're right. And I'll get into some good quotes on this. So as we said at the start, this is at the time, this will be out to the playlist, all the stuff about PJ Harvey, you go check the previous episodes. So I'll just concentrate on this, and really there's not a lot really much more to say apart from the reviews of the album, etc. So I'll just go into a bit of that and get a bit of she said the meaning behind the title of the album was, "I just like the sound of the words white chalk. It can be millions of years old but erased in a second, and somehow has a timeless quality, a timelessness became the more the source of the inspiration. Um, it's interesting as well because white chalk is what they outline a body with when it's dead. You know, I don't know if that's by accident, but it's just really interesting. It received critical acclaim and a score of 80 out of 100 on Metacritic. And I've got some sort of reviews and points here about the album. All music. White Chalk is Harvey's darkest album yet, which, considering that she's sung about dismembering a lover and drowning her own daughter, is saying something. It's also one of her most beautiful albums, inspired by the fragility and timelessness of chalk lines and her relative newness to the piano, which dominates White Chalk. On a deeper level, White Chalk feels like a freshly unearthed relic because it runs so deep and dark. Harvey doesn't just capture isolation and anguish. She makes fear, regret, and loneliness into entities. In these beautiful and almost unbearably intimate songs, darkness is a friend, silence is an enemy, and a piano is a skeleton with broken teeth and twitching red tongues. Drowned in sound. You'd love to believe she lives in a tranquil world, free from mass media and attention-sucking, spluttering technology, lost in the kind of bliss found whilst wandering within books and paintings until a kettle whistles above a fireplace. The kind of peace you get rowing out to sea just to look at the cliffs. Ah, there it is. The title-related cliche, which will riddle its way into 70-word reviews of this album, which generically talk about how she's rediscovered Hardy's bleak Dorset tones and added piano key white hues with the drug spectres of the afterlife. They'll talk not of the ways this record touches the listener like a chilled doctor's hand, or how the piano keys sound at times like tears entering the gutter of the wrinkles which show a life lived. Listen from a distance or passively with a record in the background, and it's so faint it's just kind of there, a girl at piano, lapping weak sonic waves. Wait for the world outside to die down. Stick on a sturdy set of headphones, and it's like being washed in black and white. Your head becomes full of sketches of the crumbling cliffs of the South Coast. Her earlier albums took you to polluted rivers, or locked you in white noise in some apocalyptic bedroom full of fire and venom. Stories from the City took you in helicopters through New York, just sitting on the phone to Tom York in a twilit village cottage. White Chalk whisks you away from everything. With each track, she takes you away from civilization as her fingers dart and arc from key to key, taking you away one step at a time, leaving behind the drunken sailors peacefully sleeping on cobbled streets, and out into the early morning haze and the horizon. It's a different kind of lo-fi. It's minimalism at its best, without entering the realm of the unlistenable. It creates a transcending experience perfect for our times. However, this record is an experience and so much more than the sum of its lyrical and supple musical parts. There are many moments of genuine brilliance here to help you alleviate the day-to-day, and which remind you why people make music in the first place, to share their honesty and imaginative ideas in a way that's so honest that its authenticity is refreshing. It's an album cut with plenty of things to transcend you, leaving you a state of bliss and wonderment. So they liked it. The AV Club. PJ Harvey has never been good at standing still or looking backward. When she tries something new, however, there are a few more exciting artists out there. Structured around spare piano lines, White Chalk finds Harvey relying on an instrument she sounds like she's still learning how to play. Still, it serves her well on 11 lovely, gloomy tracks that sound nothing like she's ever released before. Harvey is one of the most forceful voices around, but here she relies on her silk-thin upper register to create a delicate album that skates across despair without ever quite sinking into it. She pays homage to her new instrument of choice with the piano. The track begins with some elliptical Emily Dickinson-like piano imagery, hit with a hammer, teeth smashed in, and then ends with more familiar Harvey territory, with someone stuck in a room repeating, "Oh God, I miss you." It's a place she's been before, but it's never quite sounded like this. The Guardian. Nothing Harvey has done in the past, however, can prepare you for her album White Chalk, whose cover is as singular as the tunes they're in. Sat upright in a long white dress, hands resting on her lap, her anemic features just about discernible, Harvey resembles a Victorian governess whose joyless gaze suggests she's no stranger to heartache. So exactly what you said. Oh, that's laughing when you said it. And the Beats Per Minute website, White Chalk is an outlier in the PJ Harvey catalogue, yet one of the most PJ Harvey of PJ Harvey records somehow. Singing in a natural voice and playing on an instrument she could barely master when she began writing the songs, there is an absolute childlike purity to these songs that is bewitching to behold. Faced with these mysterious, untold piano keys, Harvey picked out a series of haunting melodies and matched them with some of the most personal and evocative lyrics of her career. To say it was inspired would be an understatement. You will not be surprised to learn that Pitchfork rated the album 6.8 out of 10, which in itself is a recommendation. So let's go on to the lyrics. I'll tell you what I think, which isn't a lot, but you know. Hit her with a hammer, teeth smashed in, red tongues twitching, look inside a skeleton. Oh, vocalizing. My fingers sting where I feel your fingers have been. Ghostly fingers moving my limbs. Oh God, I miss you. 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 Daddy's in the corner rattling his keys. Mummy's in the doorway trying to leave. Nobody's listening. And that's 5 times. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. Oh God, I miss you. Oh God, I miss you. 4 more times. Oh God, I miss you. Yeah, I will say this. I didn't write this down actually, but when she was writing the album, her grandmother passed, and she sat with her and held her hand while she died of, natural causes or whatever. And I think that this song has got several bits bolted into it. So I think the hit with the hammer, teeth smashed in, and all that is obviously a violent image, but I think it's also the sort of personification of a piano.
Yep.
As
Same
well.
thing with the father fumbling for the keys. You could imagine a guy seated at a piano or digging in his pocket. So yeah, I see there's like this double. There could be some double meaning in what she's saying.
And he writes this ghostly feel to it. And I think that my fingers sting where I feel your fingers are big and ghostly fingers move my. I think that's her grandmother passing away as she's holding her hand, and that would make sense with the "Oh God, I miss you." Yeah, it's very simple, but that line "Oh God, I miss you," and when she sings it high as well, I just find that profoundly moving. I think it's just so beautiful. It's one of the most simplest but most beautiful, sort of melody bits she's ever done. I just really, really love it. Back to the narrative. The album reached number 11 in the UK charts and number 65 in the Billboard 200. It made number 14 in the Billboard Alternative Album charts and number 3 in the Billboard Tastemaker charts. I mean, they must chart for every fucking day of the week. Anyway, the lead single from the album was called When Under Ether. It was an interesting choice, and it reached number 101 in the UK charts and was, in fact, the last PJ Harvey single to chart in the UK, if you can call that charting. The song brought many interpretations from reviewers. It may refer to a dream or a trip having taken ether, or it may be an account of a harrowing birth under archaic medical conditions. Some critics believe it refers to abortion, since unwanted children are parts of the sort of broken family ties stories that haunt the album. However, when asked directly during an interview in The Guardian, Harvey replied, "That's obviously what you hear, but for me, it's not actually tied to anything specific like abortion. Those aren't just words, they're songs. They inhabit themselves, really." So let's clear that up. I think don't pay any attention to what she says about what songs mean and stuff. She'll talk about the process, but she's never direct in revealing what songs actually mean. And that's her, fair enough. The song was number 32 on Rolling Stone's list of 100 best songs of 2007. The Piano, which you just listened to, was released as the second single and didn't chart at all. I can't imagine this being on the radio. I go, God, I've got to rush out and buy this song, And people will enjoy it as part of the album, obviously. So, that's The Piano, and that's White Chalk. I would say, personally, I don't think this album gets as much love as it should get. I think it's an outstanding album, really good. I think a lot of people think she peaked with Stories from the City, Stories from the Sea. I'm not so sure. It's not as good as other stuff, really. It's still a decent album, but it's nowhere near the heights of everything else. And this is right back up there. And it does lead the way for further albums, which are of outstanding quality as well in terms of their change of style and things she's creeping in.
But nothing that's charted in the UK since this album.
she's not a singles,
Yeah,
act.
yeah, no,
It's anthems.
yeah, I'm thinking that the English palette would make it so that she could, but that may I'm just, who am I to make that judgment call? It just seems to me that like there'd be enough reverence for this woman who's done plenty for that to drum up numbers alone. But, it is what it is. It's just hard to believe that someone as accomplished as her has had this near 20-year gap of not having something that charts. But as you said, she's not a pop hit machine, so that's understandable, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah. Her albums are doing incredibly well, and she's won awards all over the place. But
Right.
she's not a singles act, so it's
Yeah.
fair enough, I think.
Yeah, and that's great that those two things can live exclusive from one another. They don't have to be intrinsically tied together. You don't need to
Not
create a
nowadays.
hit to get recognition. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
reassuring, actually.
I find it really surprising that some acts still release singles. To be honest with you, I don't see
Yeah.
why they even bother because they're not. But anyway, we'll get to that. So I'll wrap things up. Thanks for listening, Sandy. Another
you.
step on the long and winding road of Polygene. Folks out there, tell us what you think. Please hit the like button if you like this. Drop some comments. We'd love to hear from you what your take on this song is, this album as well, and the change in style. I think it's gorgeous, but that's my view. You may be different. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And really appreciate everybody who does support the channel. That being said, thanks so much for watching. Can't believe you made this far. You fool. I will see all of you on the next episode of The Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.